And welcome to another edition of Life Outdoors. I'm your host, Chris Reckling. Life Outdoors is sponsored by Ocracoke Tourism Development Authority, Ocracoke, miles from the mainstream. Okay, today we are talking about something that we are surrounded by, and it is something that is essential to life. It is something that cleans our air and purifies our water. It is something that adds habitat for wildlife. It is something that provides food and nourishment for wildlife and humans, things, fruits and nuts. It is something that just blows your mind when you see it, and it's everywhere in nature. We're talking about trees, and not just trees, but we're talking about very big trees, champion trees that can be found here in Hampton Roads in the state of Virginia. And we're going to be talking with a tree lover himself. It is Dylan Kanya. Dylan, welcome to Life Outdoors.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, you're looking at it right here, a real-life tree hugger.
Tree hugger. And you're not alone, buddy.
No.
And if you don't love trees, then you're missing out. So Dylan is a tree enthusiast, loves his trees, so much so that he's a member of a small little group called the Tree Amigos. Tell me about your group there, Dylan.
Oh, the Tree Amigos were actually is a moniker that we gained a couple of years ago. Who we is me, myself, Byron Carmy, and Gary Williamson, and the other two members have been going about this for over 14 years now. They're much older than me, and I met them a couple of years ago. But over the past couple of years, we gained this moniker from Eric Wiseman, the director of the Big Tree program over at Virginia Tech. He would come down. He comes down every now and again. He's expected to come down. I think in January he wants to come down again. We remeasure trees, document some new trees, and hang out for a couple of days, and it's a lot of fun. And he used to jokingly kind of call us the Tree Amigos every time we come down, or through email or correspondence and whatnot. And so we just kind of took it up, and we all kind of thought it was funny. We like it, and we've been rolling with it ever since. We even got a little business card that has all three of us on it. It says
I love
the
it.
Tree Amigos.
The Tree Amigos.
Yep.
Okay, and so we're not just talking about any trees, not just big trees. We're talking about champion trees. So Virginia is home to nearly 80 national champion trees, and that makes Virginia like top 5 in the country for states that measure trees. And we're not just talking big trees. We're talking about extremely large trees. And to get to that point, to be named a national champion tree, I mean, you have to measure it. And how are the measurements taken when we're talking about a champion tree, Dylan?
All right, so when you got a tree, you think you're looking at, oh, that's really big. That's a record. Well, we got to make sure it's a record. So what you got to do is you got to first you got to figure out exactly what species it is, so you can compare it to the other similar species. And let's just say it's an oak. You got to get a measurement of the circumference in inches, and that's taken at 4.5 feet above average ground level nearby, and you wrap the tape around the trunk level, and you get the inches. And so that's your first number. Your second number is your height in feet. And there's different ways to measure height. You have what's known as a clinometer, which we frequently use. That's a level instrument just based on basic trig, and you go set distance from the tree. Usually we go 100 feet, and you look up and angle it towards the top, and you can able to read a number measurement. And we'll do like two of us will get separate measurements so that we can kind of corroborate our own answers and kind of get what we think is an accurate estimate. And so you're able to easily get a height measurement without having to climb a tree, which I have known.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that.
I have known some arborists
do
to
that.
actually climb a tree and get an exact tape drop measurement. They actually drop a tape from the top, but most people aren't going to be
Yeah,
doing
you don't
that.
want to do that.
And you could also you could use like drones. I know some people might use a drone and fly it up to the top, or what they call a laser hypsometer. But those are your different measurement methods for your height. And then your last method
crown.
is the crown spread. All those branches.
How do you do that? You're gonna wrap your arm around that?
No, what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your tape measure, and you got to have a long tape, obviously. So if you got a big tree, it's got a big branch spread. So usually we have 100-foot tape, and you got to, in two directions, perpendicular directions, you got to get two measurements, and then you get the average of those two measurements. And that's your average crown spread of your branches. And so now you have these three separate numbers. You will add them all together. The only thing you have to keep in mind is your crown spread actually gets divided by 4. Okay. So that average number you get from those two different dimensions that has to be divided by 4 before you can add it to your height in feet and circumference in inches. And then you get a point total, and that point total is compared to every other tree on the list to see if your tree is the biggest.
Okay, so we mentioned that the state of Virginia has over 80 national champion trees, which puts them on the level of the biggest trees in the country. So oaks are many of the biggest trees out there. They live between 300 and 500 years, but they're not alone. There's so many different types of trees and species of trees, and we're just going to show you one right now, one that you visited. Which tree is this right here?
That is the co-national champion black oak, and it's out in Virginia Beach. And I found that about a little over 2 years ago, and I think the late fall. And I was actually, the first time I saw it was the day I took this picture of me beside it. And I couldn't believe it. That is probably right now, I would bet my money on it, the largest, what I call a forest-grown tree in Virginia, a tree that grew up inside of the woods, not like out in the field or out planted in somebody's house. That is a true champion of the forest.
And did you find that yourself?
I did. I found it.
That's amazing.
And it's funny. It's in you wouldn't expect it there. It's in a little patch of woods. It's barely on city property behind a little doggy daycare spa center. And it's only a couple of 100 feet, maybe more, maybe like 500 feet off the road, but it's just been spared over the years somehow. And yeah, it's an amazing specimen. And that picture we're seeing right now is the national champion, or I should say co-national champion, American elm in Deep Creek in Chesapeake. And it's a beautiful tree. They even recently put a nice little plaque on it, saying it was national champion beside it. I don't think you can see it in this picture, but it's a wonderful.
Well, let's
elm.
give people a little bit better look at it.
Oh yeah.
And you can really you need perspective, because if you weren't standing there, we really couldn't tell how big or how big that is.
Yep.
Of course, dendrochronology is how to tell how old these trees are. Is there any idea how old that tree might be right there?
All right.
Several hundred years, right?
No, that is one thing that'll surprise a lot of people is size does not exactly correlate to age.
Right.
Some things just grow in the right habitat to put on growth a lot quicker than in other areas. You could have, say, for example, a red cedar growing in your yard, and it may be 3 foot in diameter. It may be less than 100 years old. But in the mountains on top of a rocky site where it doesn't get much moisture or rain, that red cedar may only be 5 or 6 inches in diameter. It could be 300 years old.
Yeah.
So it's all site dependent, and it just depends on how much nutrients and moisture and whatnot it's getting through its life.
If it's got access to the sun, and it's just going to love where it's at and grow fast, and then there's the one underneath it that might be a lot older.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know.
You never know. Hampton Roads area has some fantastic growing conditions and soils, nutrient-rich farm soils, and that's why we have so many champion trees. We've been all across Virginia, and the Hampton Roads area has the most big oaks by far of any place in Virginia.
Yep, and you know what? Now's a great opportunity to take a short little break, and we'll talk more about some of the things that Virginia and here in Hampton Roads and big trees that you can find and what makes them so special and where you might be able to find them with Dylan Kanya, one of the Tree Amigos. So stick around, everyone. You're watching Life Outdoors.
Visit Ocracoke and step into a world where every moment feels like a getaway. Savor fresh seafood straight from the sea, stroll along sun-kissed beaches, and let the gentle breeze carry your cares away. Paddle calm waters, explore hidden trails, and discover the unique stories that make this island unforgettable. Explore a village where the pace is gentle and every corner holds a story. Whether it's a beach campfire or a quiet walk, Ocracoke offers moments that linger long after you leave. Slow down, you're here. Plan your escape at visitocracokenc.com.
Welcome back to Life Outdoors. I'm your host, Chris Reckling. We're joined today by Dylan Kanya. He is a tree lover and a tree hugger. We're one and the same, man. I love trees. I mean, I went to Virginia Tech, and we know that Virginia Tech is part of the reason they have the Big Tree program, the Department of Forest Resources and Environmental Conservation. I wrote letters to the editor when they cut down a couple of major trees right outside Burris Hall. Oh. I was really upset by that, and they said, "Hey, it was disease; it was dying anyways." And I get it. But
Yeah.
at this point, you learn more as you go. So you grew up in Driver, right? And was that where the
Yes.
love of big trees or any trees kind of came? How did you kind of like step into the fact that you love trees and nature?
So yeah, I grew up in an old house built around 1900 by the founder of Driver, Dr. Driver, and he had a bunch of different interesting trees planted in the yard early on. And when I was a kid, those trees had grown to be pretty big, and I was always fascinated by them. We had big pecans, big oaks, big cherries, hollies, and I was always, I'm small, I'm a kid, I'm looking up at them, and I was kind of an outdoorsy kid. We just kind of played in the woods and went. We had an old railroad that went back into the woods and no longer used, but it was it was kind of our way to venture out. And I just loved looking up at the trees and just climbing them, and just was always fascinated by them. And it just grew, as no pun intended, as I grew.
As you grew. And
Yep.
you know what? Trees and people are so similar in so many ways. I mean, when you think about your skin and the tree's bark and how it changes over time,
Yep.
trees they communicate to each other. They change with the seasons. There and there's a lot of correlations between humans and trees.
Yeah.
And so we've already showed you a couple of trees there that. One was in Virginia Beach, the other was in Chesapeake. There's some great trees up in Hampton. There's the Emancipation Oak on the campus of Hampton University. There's also there at Fort Monroe, there's the Algernon live oak. And in Williamsburg, Colonial Williamsburg, there's also the Compton Oak. I guess you visited these trees, right?
Oh yeah, I've been to all of them. Actually, last year we remeasured the Compton Oak officially with Dr. Eric Wiseman, and we got to officially walk up to the tree, because I think they have a little barrier around it now, because you're not supposed to walk near the root mass, because you could when you have so many visitors to a tree, walking around the roots can compact it and inhibit the tree's health and growth. So that's why they roped it off. But it's a beautiful tree, and it's surprisingly not as old as people think. It was planted in the 1930s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not even 100 years old.
Every tree's different. You just never know how they're going to react to where they are. But the beautiful thing is they grow where they're planted. Let's show you a couple more trees here. Tell us about this one right here, Dylan.
That is the national champion cherry bark oak in Portsmouth, Virginia. So
That's got to be an old one right there.
Oh, so I don't think that tree is much more than 150-ish years old.
Jeez, look at the base on that.
Cherry bark oaks are one of the fastest growing oaks, not only in Virginia, but probably on the entire East Coast. And that's what a lot of people refer to as like a multi-trunked tree.
There's three trunks there, right?
Yeah, it has three different trunks. But one thing to note is that tree almost 100% certainty has the same DNA with all those three stems. So it's the same living organism, even though it might have three different trunks. It's still, by scientific analysis, it is the same tree. So
and obviously that's on someone's backyard, so you don't have access to that.
No,
so thank you so much to everyone who gives you access.
Yes, I appreciate that. And if there's anyone watching this where we knocked on your door and we came up and we're wondering, who are these people? Well, I appreciate your kindness and letting us measure and nominate your tree.
Let's go back. Oh, darn it. Well, that's okay. Well, I just hit the wrong button. We'll just we'll get through to it. Okay, so you see this tree here once again. You said this is a cherry. What did you say?
It's a cherry bark oak.
The cherry bark oak. Okay, so I guess you just never know. You have to first and foremost know the species of the tree. The leaf right there almost looks like an oak. Yeah, it is an oak. So yeah, oak in the fall because there's some yellow.
Yeah. I think that picture was taken a couple of years ago, and that's it was in the early fall, so it was starting to color up on some of the low leaves.
Obviously, growing conditions are good there, and thankfully it's still there because most of the times they get cut down if it's on private property, if it's in public domain. That's why you find one in nature, you're like, way to go, you found one.
Well, interestingly, this tree, one of the things that's saving it is its size. A couple years ago, one of the neighbors had an arborist company come out to do an estimate on how much it would cost to remove the tree, which sounds horrible. Thankfully, it never happened. I can tell you why. Because the estimate was around $80,000.
What are we looking at here? Because this is a giant.
That is the national champion laurel oak in Chesapeake, and this tree is over 28 feet around the trunk, and it's probably a little bit older than that cherry bark oak. Laurel oaks still grow extremely quickly.
Yeah.
But this tree was saved about 35 or so years ago by the original owner. It was on a farm, on an old farm property. And when they sold it for development, one of the stipulations in the contract was that they had to leave this tree. They could not cut it down, which I think is really awesome. And so it's just in a regular backyard property now in the neighborhood. It's very inconspicuous. You could easily drive by it and not realize it's there because it's not super tall. It's just really fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. The base of these trees are insane. And once again, it's good to have people in the picture for perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's just there's this. I guess you could call this a hobby.
It's
passion?
definitely a hobby and definitely a passion.
Yeah, and you're not alone. Is there just a group of people out there, obviously, that love their big trees and they try to find them and discover them?
Yeah, it's a niche hobby, but it is. I think honestly, it's growing, which is funny. I keep using that word, but I think due to online, due to
social media, yeah,
and whatnot, and there's
education.
There's a lot of groups online and people that are kind of learning about this hobby, this interest, and how they can get out and do it, and it's kind of led to more involvement, especially across different states. There's there's different groups on Facebook that people have made for individual states, like Big Trees of, say, Kentucky, or Big Trees of Ohio. I think they're one of the larger ones. They have close to 50,000 members. And then I run Big Trees of Virginia, and we all just kind of, within our states, are trying to find the largest trees out there. It's just the fun hobby to have.
Protect them, celebrate them, make sure people know about them,
Yeah.
and then treat them with the respect that they deserve. Okay, we're going to take a short break here on Life Outdoors, and we'll come back and talk more about big trees with Dylan Kanya. Stick around, everyone. You're watching Life Outdoors. Welcome back to Life Outdoors. I'm your host, Chris Reckling, alongside Dylan Kanya, big tree lover. Okay, Dylan, we just showed people a couple of big trees, giant trees.
We sure did.
Do you have a favorite tree? It doesn't even have to be a specimen. It doesn't have to be one of these big trees. Which tree lights your fire? Is it the dogwood? Are you an oak or a maple person? Do you like the bald cypress? Where are you at in the world of trees? I know it's like, who's your favorite child? Picking your favorite tree. It's so hard to do.
It's like trying to pick my favorite Italian dish. It's impossible.
Well, it's all pasta. They're all trees. They all have roots and leaves.
Let's see. I'm going to say one of my favorites has been, I like the live oak. I especially love them down south when they're covered in all the Spanish moss and all the lichens, and they have the sprawling branches that cover around the ground and sand, and I love it too because it's a great tree that's strong and sturdy and survives storms, and great for kids to climb when they're young. I've climbed many a live oak when I was a kid, and I think it's a great form of natural playground.
The windswept look on a live
it's
oak
beautiful.
is crazy.
Great for paintings. I've seen many a great painting.
And this is a banner year for acorns for live oaks. I collected a bunch this past week.
For all oaks, this has been a mass crop. It's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, a big oak can drop 10,000 acorns.
Oh my gosh, yes. There's been places this fall. I visited Congaree, and there were areas in Congaree National Park in the forest where you could not take a step without there being a whole layer of acorns on the ground.
Did you wear a helmet?
Thankfully,
you don't want to get hit with one of those.
Oh my gosh, some of them are like
golf
almost
balls?
Size of golf balls. It's amazing, and one of those hits you from one of the tallest trees on the East Coast. That'll put a dent in your head.
Yeah. So other trees that around here that are impressive. We have some videos that we've already showed you, but apparently, I guess the bald cypress is something, a swamp tree that can live really long, and they're really impressive too. And I guess the growing conditions for the bald cypress are perfect, since they're most of the time in water, so they have enough water to go, and then sun. So
one fascinating thing about the bald cypress is it'll grow just about anywhere. People don't realize it, but you can plant it on a hill. You can plant it in the middle of a field. It doesn't have to be wet, and it'll grow perfectly fine. Sometimes it'll even grow faster than in the swamp. The reason that you see them all in the swamps is because they're adapted to grow in places where no other tree can start. They grow in some of the wettest conditions, and nothing else can really get started there. So they kind of have adapted to that area, but they'll grow fine just anywhere else, believe it or not. And they won't even produce knees if they're on high enough land. They don't need to.
And what I like about it is local arborists are planting more and more these days. You see them planted in because they grow so fast, which is cool. And I love that they're deciduous and they just turn gold,
Yeah.
rust colored, and just they're spectacular in their own right. This you're with a bunch of like minded people that love their trees.
Yes.
But when you go to these trees and you know where they're at, you have to play by the rules and be respectful of property owners. Talk about some of the rules if you're trying to find these champion trees, and what are things that people should expect if they want to find and learn more about these trees.
Well, if you want to get into this hobby, I mean, there's a lot of great places that you can start on your big tree hunts. I mean, if you want to look to begin with, public parks, public cemeteries. Honestly, just old parts of town. I mean, we have tons of history around here. Historical places offer a great place to look around for trees, any sort of public city properties. But if you go and you see a big tree, but it's behind someone's house, just be nice and cordial with them. And from my experience, if you're honest with your intentions, and most people don't expect to have someone come up to the door and ask, "Hey, can I look at your tree?" But you're probably not making that up. You're probably.
But you know what? If you say that to them, they know right away, because you're not the first person. Because if they have a
Most
big tree
likely.
and they know that when you say, "I want to see your tree," they're like, "Oh, here's another tree hugger," which is fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, in our experience, as long as you are, like I said, cordial, honest with your intentions, and it helps too that I have some experience to back me up. We have cards and all that. That does help.
Yeah.
But I mean, 99% of the time we have good results with people.
You mentioned local parks. Lakewood Park in Norfolk has some really big old trees, and the cemeteries. These are protected areas that the trees have protection. In the regular world, a lot of times the trees aren't protected, and that's where you might lose trees for whatever reason. But on these parks and cemeteries, you'll find the most spectacular ones, right?
You definitely find some of the oldest ones, that's for sure, because
Yeah.
they've had the longest chance to survive, and that's what's kind of great about our areas. You have so many old areas where trees have had a long time to just kind of grow up and get big and get impressive.
Yeah, and so from the oaks to the maples to the elms to the tulips to there are so many different. Finding one in nature like this has to be a real challenge. What led you to this piece of property here, where you just?
So one thing that I do that has helped me tremendously, or should I say tremendously, is
I like what you did there.
oh yeah, I use a lot of online tools.
Satellite
I would
search.
say satellite imagery. I use Google Earth.
Yeah.
Between Google Earth, Google
Yeah.
Street View, Maps. I use what's called LiDAR, which is light detection and arranging. It's a way to kind of scan in a certain area the heights of things, including trees, and kind of getting an idea
Okay.
of where some of the tallest, largest trees might be.
Good to
and
know.
then there's GIS tools that are interestingly used to map out property and determine property boundaries and property integrity, like houses and whatnot. Real estate is mostly their use, and I use these tools. One of them is called Eagle View, which is contracted out to different counties, and I'll use it to look at trees from an aerial perspective. And it's this high definition imagery that's taken from a helicopter 360 degrees, and it's really great. And it's funny because I've been using it to look for trees, but its intended purpose was initially for property and land assessment.
Sure.
But it's a great tool, and that's how I found that Virginia Beach oak. I went to the Virginia Beach GIS website, and was perusing around using this software that they've contracted out from Eagle View, and I came across that tree. I was like, wow, there's a really big tree there. I gotta check it out sometime.
Boom, just like that. Champion.
Yep.
I love that. All right, Dylan, we're just about out of time. We hope that everybody enjoyed this edition of Life Outdoors. And if you are a tree lover, then just make a note that there are big trees out there. And if somebody wants to learn more, social media or groups, where can they reach out to, Dylan?
Oh, if you want to reach out to me, I'm on Facebook,
There
and
you
I
go.
also have I run Big Trees of Virginia on Facebook, which is
Okay.
now at about 23,000 members. It's free to join, and anyone can post their impressive trees on there. If you got an impressive tree in your yard, you think it's really really nice or an old tree you know about, you can post it and everyone can view it. And so you can send it to me if you think it's a record.
And if nothing else, just go out and plant a tree.
Yeah.
Do the
Yeah.
right thing for
You know,
for nature and our
Yeah,
surroundings.
plant a tree. Go out in
Keep
the
planting
woods because
trees.
it's a natural stress reducer. It's
Yeah.
scientifically proven to help your mindset.
Yeah, just talking about trees makes me feel better.
Oh yeah.
All right, Dylan, thank you again for joining us here on Life Outdoors. Dylan Kanya and
Thanks for
Big
having
Trees.
me.
We hope you guys enjoyed this edition of Life Outdoors, sponsored by Ocracoke Tourism Development Authority. Ocracoke, miles from the mainstream. You guys, we'll see you next time right here on Life Outdoors.